right. Hopefully we are live. It's hard for me to tell. It's hard for me to tell because the internet is a little bit slow today. But we shall see. Let's see. Are we live? If you can hear us. Yeah, if you can hear us. Yeah, it looks like we're live on YouTube, which means we're probably live on Facebook and Twitter as well at the same time. We're so excited to do this live show. If you are watching live, oh yeah, all right, Big Gold Nerd is here. The Big Gold Nerd is here. Awesome. And Mandy is here. Woohoo! Thank you, Mandy. All right. Goldberg's fan. All right, we got so many cool folks here. It's going to be great. All right. Well, stay tuned because we're going to have some really fun interactive things to play along with for those of you following in the chat. But Lons, you always get it started. So now that the technical things are rolling, I hand it to you.
Welcome to another new episode of the Goldnerds live podcast. I'm your host, Lons, and I'm here with my co-host, Shy. Hi, Shy.
Lons, this was fun. We actually virtually watched this episode live together. You joined my family for, you've done it in person with my family, but this time we built a robot Lons, put a iPad on a stand, and you watched with us, and it was amazing.
It felt like that episode of Modern Family where everything was done over technology and Phil had like a iPad robot going around. That felt like me.
Yeah, it was very cool. My kids got a kick out of it. Oh, and my hello would have been, "Don't call me Shirley Schmoobaloos." I'm overwhelmed. So much going on.
There's a lot going on. We had 2 episodes tonight for the big Goldbergs premiere. Starting off with a bang was airplane-inspired, movie-themed premiere. You know, we've done movie-themed premieres since season 3, and I gotta say this is probably my 3rd favorite of all the movie premieres. We kick off with Bev saying that she got a trip to Miami for the family and Erica's not having it. But then Bev is like, oh yeah, you know, Jeff can come and so can Bria and so can Ren. So they're all happy doing the conga. But, you know, skeptical Erica is not having it. So they go through the different stages of like boarding a plane, going through security, like at the airport, on the plane. All meanwhile, Adam is doing all the airplane jokes. What's your favorite airplane bit?
My favorite airplane bit is consistently the "today's a bad day to quit sniffing glue," like the ever escalating. I say that on a regular basis, particularly when I go into some kind of diet situation. And I'm like, today, like I've been doing intermittent fasting and I'm drinking, you know, ginger cardamom tea at 11 o'clock in the morning, not having eaten for 12 hours. And I'm like, oh, today's a bad day to quit sniffing glue. So that one to me is always the funniest. And I also identify with, I have friends who can't not make airplane jokes whenever the opportunity arises. And Adam just spoke to me on a deep level today in today's episode. I don't make them all the time, but I have some friends who they can't, if there's an opportunity to make an airplane joke, they will not pass it up.
Yeah, I think my favorite is I've developed a drinking problem and then pouring, you know, the drink on you. That one's a really good bit. They did all the great bits. Adam did all the great bits. Shirley, you can't be serious. All the while just completely annoying Bria and the stewardess or flight attendant now.
Before Chad leaves, I just want to make sure we get his comment up.
Chad, what do you think of the episodes, bud? You loved them both. What favorite parts before you go?
Yeah, you know what? We're going to do some live polling during this episode. Even if you're not watching the episode, the polls are going to update live at this site. I'm putting it in the chat right now. I'm going to tweet it. If you want to join at home, you can't enter anything yet. We'll get to those moments where we ask the questions. But Chad, if you want to follow along, we'd love to have you voting. So sorry to jump in there. Oh, Lons, you still there? Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry to jump in there.
So, and then also, yeah, no. And we learned that Beverly just wanted to take everyone to Miami so she could show off her kids at a bar mitzvah, which she told Jeff about numerous times in the bathroom, saying that he had a stomach issues. You know, they've used that one before for Jeff, is that he's had stomach issues.
Yeah, any kind of Jeff diarrhea reference I find hilarious.
Barry and Ren are kind of off sync this episode. I'll have thoughts on that at the end. But Barry somehow makes it to first class for a brief period, after complaining as he does. Hilarity ensues on the plane. The Goldbergs just cannot be contained in such a little confined space, so they ended up turning the flight around. They get grounded. But the kids make it up to Beverly because they realize how much it means to her to show off her kids in front of everyone at a bar mitzvah. And they end up getting back on the plane. I think it was a solid premiere. They even had who was the guest star from Airplane?
David Leisure. I don't know how to pronounce it, but if you were, so what's interesting is we talk about the Goldverse, but there was the Golden Girls verse. I don't know if anybody else here, anyone who's in the chat remembers the Golden Girls verse, which included the Golden Girls, Empty Nest, Nurses, and then later Golden Palace. There might have even been another show in the group, but David Leisure played, I believe, an airline pilot in Empty Nest. He was like the wacky neighbor, but he was also in Airplane. And so it was great to have him in there. That was a perfect cameo. Always nailing the cameos, the Goldbergs.
Yeah. Perfect cameo. They even had the cameo of the automatic pilot at the tag at the end, which is, I love the automatic pilot. I thought that was hilarious in the movie, so I'm glad they brought that onto the show. You know, I wish they would have gone Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That would have been a really big get.
Especially since you're such a big... you see, Karen knows what I'm talking about with Empty Nest, especially since you're such a big Lakers fan. Congratulations to the Lakers, by the way.
Woo! 2020 Lakers. Yeah, so Kareem would have been a great get, but, you know, always leave it up to the Goldbergs to get great guest stars, especially on the premieres. So thoughts on the episode?
So before I get into the thoughts on the episode, I will share my thoughts momentarily. Folks, go to the link we tweeted out or that we put in the chat, or go to menti.com and use the code 5754735. I know that sounds like a lot. And start putting in words that you associate with the feeling of being back watching the Goldbergs this season. How do you feel about the Goldbergs being back season 8? I love the answers we're seeing already. Great, amazing. I love Wendy. Spectacular. This is great. We're going to have more polls at this web address. So all you have to do is go live to that. That site, and we will get this awesome word cloud with everybody's answers. In terms of how I felt, I loved the first episode. I thought this was one of the stronger of the of the of the premieres over the years. I think that I was looking back and reflecting on it because later we're going to rank our premieres, and I realized that of course, I only realize now that they've been doing movie homages for the last however many years. And honestly, I think this is one of the strongest one. I love one where Jeff steps up and stands up for Beverly. I think that's a great little relationship within there, the future mother-in-law. I love the little Jerica coda where they talk about how Jeff is, how Erica accepts Jeff as part of the family, which I think is really important. Because I'm huge into that ship, and I really loved all of the airplane shenanigans, but also in the true great Goldberg's meta way, Adam is of course being relentlessly mocked for constantly referencing airplane, and I think that was the only way you could do it, which is that I'm sure airplane staff at the time, people got on airplanes constantly making those jokes. That let's see what else. I think that Barry was great, but we've got to fix this Barry Ren situation soon.
So we've previously talked about it. Ren has been replaced with Carrie Wampler for season 8, and we've talked about the character Ren before. I think this episode also highlights the problems we have with Ren as a character. She just doesn't add value to Barry, I don't think. Barry's funniest lines were away from Ren, and his relationship with Ren. Yes, we definitely miss Lainey, if that's what that was supposed to say.
Yeah.
We miss Lainey.
We miss Lainey for sure. Thank you, Michael. Oh yeah.
It's I think it just sticks out. Bria B and Adam have such great chemistry. Obviously, Jerica is a staple now. They're one of the iconic couples. Ren and Barry, I just don't see the chemistry there. I don't see what her purpose is as a character. She's not adding value to Barry, I don't think. Like Barry's lines about wanting to be the Miami Vice guy was excellent.
The Crockett and Tubbs thing was great, but it is hard to buy that he really, like, Ren is the one that's convincing him to do this, right? Like for Lainey, I could see him saying that, not necessarily for Ren, but I don't want to make this all about not liking, Ren. I don't want to be unfair, of course. We're always grateful,
right, of course.
But I'd love to know what other folks are thinking about Ren, or at least Lainey. Like, there's a lot of Lainey forever going on here. And thank you for everybody who's submitting to our word cloud. I'm very excited. The biggest one so far is yes. I love it. Jeff's diarrhea is also doing as well as Beverly's Bev Bomb, which I love Goldnerds so much. And yeah, MP Michael, again, with making a really great point. It is really hard to replace a major character.
Yeah. So aside from the Ren, I loved everything on it. Bria B getting annoyed at Adam for all those airplane references was pretty funny. And then to see that Bria B, so her big thing that she wanted to tell Adam about was her, what is it, like a teeth guard, I guess?
That is called a headgear.
Headgear, yes.
And that is called a headgear. I definitely had one of those. It is, I don't know if you had one. I think they've probably gotten rid of those mostly for kids. I had a headgear with the neck part and the head part. You'd strap it in at night and you'd wake up in a puddle of drool, and your teeth would feel horrific because they'd been being pulled backwards all night while you were sleeping. It was extremely torturous to live with a headgear. And it was extremely torturous to live with a headgear. And I increasingly love Bria B, and I like her and Adam's chemistry. I saw them in the Kim Possible movie together. They really work together. And
Yeah.
Sadie Stanley, is that her last name?
Yeah.
I think she's terrific, and she's got the comic timing, and I think they've built the chemistry. Karen seems to have been talking, I think, about Barry, and I think Karen's talking about Barry and Ren
Ren.
over here. I agree. I agree, but I think that Sadie and Sean have a great chemistry.
Agreed. And it's nice that she doesn't ever put him down. She's never mean to him. She got annoyed about the headgear, but that's only because she wanted to talk to him about, she got annoyed about his airplane joints, but it's only because she wanted to talk about the headgear. She's just really a sweet girl, and for being like a popular girl, they're like subserving the popular cliche that you have to be mean to be popular. She's just a sweetheart, so it's like hard not to root for that character.
Yeah. Yeah. She is a good person. I think that is like one of the best parts of this is that she is like a very good and a very good and lovable person. Yeah. You see, Karen's with us. Sadie and Sean are great together. And so the big gold nerd exists. All right. We got some Blaney forever. And we've got a fellow neck gear wearer, Karen. Ooh, right? Weren't those rough days? Thank goodness I didn't have to wear mine to school. There was this kid, I won't say his name, not because if anyone from Montreal is watching, they'll know his name. He had to wear one every day, and I think to this day, if you mention that kid's name to people where I grew up, they will 100% mention, oh yeah, the kid with the neck gear. So orthodontists, thank you. These days doesn't seem that you make us do that. We're ready for another poll if you want. I can go to the next poll.
Yeah, let's go to the next poll.
Okay, so again, putting it in the chat, menti.com. Going to go to the next slide in the poll, if I can do this correctly. Whoa, yeah. Which core cast members of, oh, wow, is that our next one? Yeah. Which core cast members of the Goldbergs would you like to be a guest on the Goldnerds podcast? We're going to use this to help us to help convince them to come on the show. So make your voice heard. Make your voice heard. You should get a little sign that says, oh boy, Sean. All right. Lots of votes for Sean this year. That's awesome.
I'd love to have Sean back.
You know that I made the poll because I put Sam as the as the picture with the hope of convincing Sam. But we would love to have Sean back. He would be amazing. For me, my white whale is Troy. I think it would be amazing to have Troy on the show. Oh, Wendy, she's the top of the call sheet and
top
she's number
of the
one in
poll.
our hearts. I wonder, you think Jeff is number 6 because I didn't put Pops on there just because I feel like we got to be nice to,
George Siegel's time is too important for us.
Exactly. I don't want to bother poor George Siegel with this. But maybe people don't think Jeff Garlin will do it because he's too busy doing all of his like curb things. I feel like the Goldbergs is like his G-rated activity, but
yeah, Wendy's looking like the lead here. We'd love to have Wendy on. And, I actually agree with you, Shai, that Troy would be the big get for me. I'd love to hear his thoughts about the Lakers personally. I know he's a big fan. And, we haven't had him on the show yet. So it would be a great get to get Troy on. Obviously, Wendy is iconic. We'd love to have her back. You and I have never interviewed her, so it would be great to interview Wendy.
Yeah.
And we haven't had Haley on the show, so she's in second place. That'd be great. I love Haley to death. We talk about her music. Want to know what's up with her music lately? She's house flipping. If you haven't noted, if you guys haven't heard,
I have. I know some people who could use her help right now. So
yeah. She has a lot of projects going on, so we'd love to interview Haley if you are out there and hearing this. Got to discuss the gag, of course. Where does that inspiration come from? We didn't have a gag, Erica gag this week, but hopefully soon we will.
Oh, Michael thinks Haley would do it. Oh, wow. So much love for Haley. I love it. All right, Haley and Wendy. Ooh. Are you saying, I assume RIP Sam because not as many people voted for him. We love Sam. This could be called the Learner Heads podcast if we needed
it. Would be Learner's Head podcast.
at a certain point, we almost go, oh, wow. Yeah. Haley and Wendy together would be incredible. We almost go. All right. We've got more polls coming. I'll remove the polls for now, but they are coming back. So get ready. There's some fun stuff coming.
So we talked about ranking. Where would you rank all the season premieres for the Goldbergs?
So this is a great question, and for those following along at home, I'll activate that poll and we'll show it in a little bit. So for me, I don't know that for me. Oh, 16 candles. What you're saying? Breakfast Club. Okay, so Breakfast Club is going to be number 1 for sure. Vacation number 2. Airplane, I think, is number 3. I almost want to say Airplane is number 1, to be honest. This is one of my favorite ones, but I'll put that as number 3. Then 16 Candles, then Weird Science, then Circle of Driving, just because out of respect for it. Then Risky Business, then Love is a Mixtape. Love is a Mixtape makes me like very uncomfortable. It's a great episode, and I have a friend who watched it recently who was like they just got into the show, and they were telling me how much they love that episode. But that episode kind of freaks me out.
Why?
I mean, because I've got an absolutely amazing smother, and I've made her a few mixtapes in my time, so.
I'm gonna have to go with 16 Candles as my favorite because it was a Blaney heavy episode. If you remember, is the episode right after they got engaged. So it was Blaney heavy, so that's gonna be my favorite. And then Vacation last year was fantastic. I almost would put that as my number 1, but it's my number 2. And then I'll put Airplane as 3, like you. Then Breakfast Club, then Risky Business, then Weird Science, and I also put Love is a Mixtape as my last.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing an early Adam episode of the Goldnerds podcast when he was on, and he talked about how Risky Business that sort of shaped my opinion a little bit. He talked a little bit how Risky Business was his least favorite because the previous episode was Living on a Prayer. And because that previous episode was Living on a Prayer, and that is the ultimate Goldberg's party episode, it's hard for Risky Business to really crack any serious top anything. But I think that's a really good episode. I still enjoy that one. Like Love is a Mixtape is still that early phase. I feel like still finding its footing. It's very sweet, but it's like a little too smothery for me. And not that not that I wouldn't want to be smothered by real life Beverly or Wendy, but that one freaks me out. I think that I'll bring up the results. The results are really interesting. All right, who's ready for the results? Oh, wow. Okay, good. Karen's with me in 16 Candle Breakfast Club, and Big Goldnerd fighting back for Love is a Mixtape. I love when people disagree with us. That makes it so much fun. Goldnerds have to have passion. Goldnerds never say die. I respect everybody's opinion, except for maybe people who think CB and Laney should be together. I'm not sure I can go there.
Yeah,
I respect those people, but I'm not sure I respect that opinion. I respect those people and their reasoning, and I'm very interesting. Okay, Love is a Mixtape. All right, is at the top of the Big Goldnerds list. That's really, really cool. What to you makes a great premiere? Like, what makes these premieres great to you?
So, wow, Breakfast Club number 1. Now, is it because Breakfast Club is like universally one of the best movies of all time, and paying homage to it automatically elevates it from other?
So here's what I'll go with. The movie homage, or homage, is a great Goldberg's method of bringing the meta things into a show.
Yeah.
But some I think are better than others, and some are a little bit more forced than others. And I think the Breakfast Club one is so perfectly cast the way each of the characters really does fit one of those molds when they do the dancing. Let's not forget the Johnny Atkins cameo for a part of the show, for a part of the episode where he's in detention anyway with them. I think that one really is special because if you're ranking the movie homages, like for me, Revenge of the Nerds is up there with the Breakfast Club, but that's not a yeah. Yeah, I like what Michael's saying here. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Breakfast Club involved getting into all of the cast from that movie. Like you really went deep. Airplane did a lot of gags about Airplane and was a very funny episode. It was a great Goldberg's episode, but it wasn't as much it wasn't as much like a parody of the story, right? Revenge of the Nerds was closer to being a parody of the story. Whereas the Breakfast Club is like they're replaying the Breakfast Club, but with the Goldberg's characters, and I love that. I think that's
know, and I think that's why Vacation is probably my second favorite, is because they are replaying Vacation with the Goldbergs, and going through all the hijinks there. I think that was such a solidly funny episode. And it was a great Jeff showcase, if you remember.
Vacation, the breadcrumbs. That alone.
Breadcrumbs, that single line is probably my favorite line of the entire series.
Oh, yeah. Jeff, Sam Lerner talking about how he followed the suitcases like breadcrumbs it's one of my favorite things of the whole show.
Yeah.
So I think that was great. Should we get on to the next episode? Thank you everybody for playing along at home. This is so much fun. I want to bring back up Karen's point. I put it up, but I didn't mention it. Karen likes when they show the pop culture advancement of the 80s, the next big thing. I love that. Yeah, when they talk about the different crazes. Oh, I'm going to put the link in the chat. The link in the chat, the link is the same link we've had all along. As we change the polls, when I change it, it will change for you. Oh, all right. The Kick-Ass Risky Business Party is getting some love because Blaney. All right. And CB Laney doesn't exist. Oh, you're talking our language here. You're definitely talking.
We love it. Right. So episode 2, The Prettiest Boy in the World. We're obviously talking about Cool Adam. He has like frosted tips now, a la Justin Timberlake, and has a nice puka necklace, shell necklace.
The shells were amazing. I mean, any kid who went away for the summer and came back cool, like I could have never pulled off those shells, nor would I have ever had that like cool frosted tip hair. My parents would never have even like, I got my hair cut in the place where they put you in a car and you could play Nintendo till I was in my 20s.
He also has ripped jeans, so we know he is cool when you wear ripped jeans.
The needless destruction. I don't know if Adam said
I actually wore a puka necklace my entire 4 years in high school. I don't wear it anymore, but puka shells were in for the longest time, so even I wore them in the 2000s. Nothing says cool like a puka shell necklace, you know. So he's strolling up into school, all cool. The jocks are saying hi to him. He has his cool girlfriend Bria B. He's living the high life. He's a senior year. We're actually at Adam Goldberg's senior year of high school. Can you believe that? We started out in 6th grade with little man,
and
now
wild.
He's a senior.
Now they've done 2 years of school for almost every. This is like for 4 years of like, could this be the last year when you say high school? I mean, are we looking at a graduation episode?
I don't know. I'm not sure, but yeah. So appropriately titled "Prettiest Boy in the Whole World" is Adam Goldberg. Until he sees his old friends, who he calls the nerds, um, and that's Dave Kim and Emmy Mursky, who they spent all summer learning Japanese for what was it, a Mario Kart
Oh yeah,
game?
so this is Super Mario 3. Again, this is where Super Mario 3 coming out in the 1980s was maybe one of the biggest video game pop culture moments ever. There was a movie, a film that came out starring Fred Savage, called The Wizard, where it was about this kid who was really great at video games, and his older brother takes him on this big adventure to go to a video game competition. And the grand finale of this movie was them playing the unreleased until that point Mario 3. And in the movie, they showed you secrets like warp zones and stuff that weren't otherwise known, right? Because we didn't have the internet in 1990, whatever. And so Mario 3 coming out, and I remember it was released in Japan beforehand, and certain friends had like these bootleg versions where you take like the Japanese cartridge and stick it into an American adapter, and we'd play it on their Nintendos before the actual game was available. So everything that they were talking about was very, very real.
Yeah. So he's definitely feeling left out with his nerd friends. And all he wants to do is bring his cool jock friends and his nerd friends together. So he devises a plan. And we get our first appearance of my favorite non-talking character, the chalkboard, with a Venn diagram. And in the center is pizza, Arnold Schwarzenegger, a couple other items. If you know what else that was on the chalkboard, let me know. But they decided that all they need is to eat some pizza and talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger for them to come together. Of course, that's not how friends work.
I, for one, love and continue to love Adam's or Sean's Arnold Schwarzenegger imitation. I know everybody ganged up on him, but I thought it was amazing. Also, a quick shout out, a legend of the Goldnerds world is here, Kermit Defons.
Yeah, Johnny Atkins will never graduate high school.
Yeah.
Even in school, I'm pretty sure he was still taking classes while he was the janitor. So yeah, he's trying to get his friends together. Were you ever in a situation where you had two groups of friends that you wanted to get together?
Yeah, for me, it wasn't an issue of being cool and not cool because there weren't enough kids in my school really for that. I went to a private Jewish day school, and and I've been going to school with the same people since first grade. So I wouldn't say there was that, but where my worlds colliding was an issue was my Jewish camp friends and my regular school friends, because having those worlds meet, that was very, very strange, because life was infinitely better at camp than it was at school. And so you try to mix these worlds. Eventually, after 20 plus years, I have a lot of friends that have mixed between the two, but that's a very hard and nerve-wracking thing, is when your camp friends meet your school friends for your first time. So for me, that was the closest of like trying to get everybody together. But I never had I never had friends that were like so cool that they couldn't be friends with my other friends.
Yeah, I had like probably like three different groups of friends based on like sports and like people in my class. So they weren't like cool and not cool, but I never even tried to like merge the groups. I always jumped around at lunch like a little bunny and just hung out with the different groups every other day. And I think that's what Adam probably will end up doing or should do, is maybe, one day sit with the jocks and then the other day sit with the nerds.
I will say the Goldbergs makes the jocks and popular kids much more palatable than real mean popular kids are.
Yeah.
because like there are some kids who are popular that I'm not going to mention their names, but I'm still angry at them for stuff from like the 80s and 90s, right? So I'm sure Adam has people like that, but the Goldbergs is a good-hearted show. And also, you know, the jocks do seem like they're pretty nice at
Well,
ruin.
they did put Dave Kim in the trash can at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, that's pretty awful. I mean, it's funny in a show, but when you think about that actually happening, it's pretty terrible.
Pretty terrible.
It was great to see Adam's friends back. I also loved we got a Chad Kremp
I
appearance.
was
We were
just gonna
talking
mention
about this
it.
over the summer.
Who is Chad Kremp hanging out with? Because he's not hanging out with Adam in the gang.
Yeah, Adam, if you're listening, was Chad part of the rest of that group of friends, or was he like your set? Everyone has that like best friend that is like family that they live close to that isn't necessarily in the other groups of friends. Where does Chad fit into this?
Yeah, where is Chad? We haven't, he pops up as a good son for Mrs. Kremp, but he is not a part of Adam's school life. So where is Chad Kremp? The mysterious Chad Kremp. We want answers. And then the beef storyline, as we roll into, is what Jeff calls the great regression, where Barry and Erica have 1 week before college, so they regress to being babies and having Beverly wait on them hand and foot, which she does without complaint, as always, because she's a wonderful smother. And then it leads to a blowout where we get our first Bev bomb.
Which was a heavy Bev bomb.
Heavy Bev
That
bomb.
That wasn't a sort of that wasn't a one just up in the air. That was directly directing them out of the house.
Yes. Leaving the house.
The big old nerd, we cannot put your direct spelling out of that up on the screen. But yes. Thank you.
Yeah, so they end up, making up at the end, as they always do. But, is it appropriate for them to regress like this so much? Going to be sophomores in college?
So I'll say this. My wife, who I was watching with and you were watching with tonight, just gave me a look because this is not true, but this is her entire perception of how my sisters and I behave when we go home to visit my mom. We don't behave that way, but there is a certain amount of regressing to childhood that does happen that I think this is an exaggerated version of.
That's true. You're right. As is with TV, everything is high-end and exaggerated. Real life maybe plays out differently. I certainly do regress. My mom does cook for me and clean for me. I don't have a bell, of course, and she does not rub my feet, but you're right. She does cook and clean for me. Goldnerds, when you go back home, do you regress to your childhood settings? Let us know.
Karen signs with Bev on this one.
Yeah, it was a very hefty, meaty, hearty Bev bomb that we got for the second episode. First Bev bomb of the season, so it was apropos that it's the first one of the season. Yeah, I mean, I guess, the thing is that we see it all the time on the Goldbergs, that they rely on Beverly. I just want to like shake them, be like, come on, your mom does so much for you. Like, let's, wake up a little bit. But at least they get it in the end.
So I'm going to bring up our poll, our next poll.
Yeah.
Which folks should be able to see. Here's the link again. If you haven't had a chance to log in, this is about the ships, which I think this one was a test of Adam and Bria's ship. I mean, it does reinforce, I think, that the Adam and Bria train, I mean, it can't go on forever because he's got to meet his real wife one day, but I'm enjoying this relationship.
I am too. And we got a comment from Melody Orantia. I think that is Haley Orantia's mother. She's saying, I happily let Haley regress. That's a great mother.
Amazing, Melody. That's incredible.
What a great smother, Melody. Thank you for joining us. Always happy to have the real life characters, parents and family members on. So thank you for joining us.
And Melody, I don't know if you saw earlier, but Haley was one of the top voted people that the fans would like to have as a guest on the show. So if you have any influence, we would love to have her on a podcast. Doesn't have to be necessarily a live episode. We can do a recorded thing. We've recorded with cast everywhere in the world, every time zone I think I've been in that we've called in to find them wherever I was traveling. So Melody, thank you, Melody, for joining us. This is so special, folks.
She says, I know she would love to.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
all
amazing.
Right. We'll hold you to that, Melody.
We appreciate
hopefully
it.
We can get Haley on this season.
Oh, look at everyone. Haley's mom is on right now. Haley's on. Mom is on right now. Let's all throw some love in the chat for Haley, so she can, as all great mothers, the Yiddish expression we have is kvelling. Let her kvel a little bit. Let her have some nachas. That's pride in Yiddish. So yeah, let's make sure. Let's make sure she knows how much you all love her, and she can help pass along the information, the request.
So let's go to our polls.
Yeah, so our latest poll is your top ships, and I think this is somewhat as expected. You got Jerica, and then you can't really fight with Merverly, as I called it, Marion Beverly. That's none of this exists without that. And then I think Barry and Ren really. I mean, that's kind of. Who voted?
Who voted for Barry and Ren?
Who gave Barry?
Let yourself be known.
Yeah, someone voted for Barry and Ren. One person voted for Barry and Ren, gave them like a medium. So that's good to know. Oh, that's really cool. Thank you all for playing at home. I hope that things are that's great. Thanks everybody for playing along with the polls. I hope this has made it fun. This was a experiment for tonight. Let us know.
We did get 2 pops. I would call them cameos this week. Both sitting on the couch. The first episode in Airplane, he asks, when are you guys leaving? And then he helps. Does he help Adam out with his problem about the friends? I think he does.
I think he does a little bit. I think they have to prioritize keeping George safe. So you can't I was nervous to even see him on set. I was like, make sure there's a mask. This is a national treasure here. Don't mess around.
I know, right? First and foremost, let's keep the iconic George Segal safe. Always. But love to have him as a cameo on the shows. And you know what? We got a surprise mustache by Pops. He looked great. I think it was even one of the top words that were a part of the first poll of what we're excited about season 8 for was Pop's mustache. Everyone seemed to love it. We love you, Pops, forever and always.
All right. Now, one really important thing before we're not going to leave yet, but protect George at all costs. Thank you, Melody. Absolutely. Right on. Right on. Right on. We're with you. And so one of the biggest questions that we wanted to ask today was about the guest characters, because we saw the return of Chad Kremp, the return of Chad Kremp. We saw Glasscott returning, but we're missing a few other ones, namely Ponytail Johnson himself right here. I was really expecting, particularly when we were talking about nerds and things like that, nerds in high school classes, like I was expecting a soliloquy from the great Sean Marquette as Johnny Atkins about the social structure in school and how it's evolved over the decades that he's been at school. and we didn't get it. So I would love to know from folks, which side character are you looking forward to seeing this season? Because, you know, it was great seeing Chad Kremp back, but I also was missing some of my I was missing my personal favorite, which is Johnny Atkins, and of course I really want to see Lainey, and we know that's going to happen. But
we know that's going to happen. Everyone's excited to see Lainey, the most popular guest character, so popular she earned herself a spinoff. We'll see her again. Yes, where was Ponytail Legend? So
yeah, the
cute.
entire space-time continuum of the Goldbergs is dependent on that ponytail.
Yes,
as far as we're concerned. That's like the first season of Lons and Shy's version of the Goldbergs. Oh, I got to put the link back in again. Thank you, folks, for asking and for playing along. It's the same link each time. I just update it, and then you can vote. But I'll just keep putting it in.
So we have new episodes coming up, obviously, and you know everyone's looking for Lainey. Our 4th episode is actually Bill's wedding, which was supposed to be season 7's finale. They have now moved it to episode 4 of season 8. Will we see Lainey at Bill's wedding? It only makes sense. It's her dad's wedding. You'd think she'd be a bridesmaid or Bill's best man. Will we see Lainey in that episode? What do you think, Shy?
I think so. I think so for sure. I think, especially since I think school had been canceled by the time that they were filming that. I'm not sure. You always know the production stuff better than me, and I think that just means that Lainey's going to be there. If anything, I mean, I'd love to see
only makes
AJ.
sense.
I'd love to see AJ return to the show, but I don't know if that's going to happen full time. Well, so Big Gold Nerd mentions here bad news in IMDb. AJ is not listed, but David Leisure wasn't listed on the IMDb for Airplane today. So my theory is that, especially in the spirit of Adam, maybe, you know, in respecting people's fear of spoilers, maybe they're waiting to add the guest stars after the episode's aired. You know, like there's some intern whose job it is to update IMDb, and that'll get updated at the right time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That happens a lot where it's not updated prior to the episodes. For whatever reason, you have to update your own IMDb page. Of course, I'm sure it's probably the managers or agents that update it for these people, but it's not automatically updated by the gods or anything. You have to do it yourself. So
it's not done, like the network doesn't like submit like a sheet to IMDb that just says everyone that was in the episode.
I don't
like George Siegel's not updating his IMDb page.
No, of course not. I think it's like maybe a manager or like someone on like your team that updates it.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Maybe your agency or something like that, like you were saying.
Yeah.
If anybody knows, we would love to know. Because now I'm like, I just assumed that you just submit like an Excel, you upload, like that certain people have like enterprise upload privileges, and they go in and people just source and correct them. All right, that was our last poll for the night. Thank you everybody for playing along. A lot of love for Lainey, Johnny Atkins, then Carla, then Uncle Marv, and then Pop Pop. I'm suspecting the lack of love for those heavy hitters is more to do with the fact that there's a certain assumption that those guys are built into the show, right?
We know we'll see Uncle Marv for our Thanksgiving episode, so
exactly.
Hopefully he's back. And so next week we have It's All About Comptrol. Jeff and Erica come to a point in the relationship where they realize they are in different places in college.
Uh-oh.
Is there some trouble in paradise for Jerica? We'll find out. And Jeff makes an important decision while Beverly tries to find a new purpose in her life. Oh, Bevolution, part 2. She seeks political office as the city's comptroller. Hmm.
Oh, all right. I like the idea of Bebby. She could have been a lawyer. She could have been a politician.
Of course, she could be anything she wants to. She's that awesome. I'm curious what this Jerica relationship problem is going to be.
I hope it's not a relation. I don't think it's a relationship problem. I think we're done doing the Jerica will they, won't they. I think this is more of a relationship Lucian situation where
Okay.
they're going to learn to manage their relationship while being in different places in their lives or at different success levels. I think that's what it's going to be about. Because you're not always, I mean, I've been married now for, let me count, for 12 years, almost 13 years. And there are times in your career or in your education where you're focused on different things than your partner, and you got to make sure to be respectful of them where they're in your place, where they're in their place, and they got to be respectful of you in your place. But there's no question about the love and the dedication and the devotion. It's more just learning how to deal with those different situations. There's the
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk on relationships.
So yeah, I agree. You know, they're living together. I'm assuming they're still living together this year. And you know, moving in together is such a big step, and they did it so eloquently. They had no troubles about it. So you know, that's such a big step in their relationship that they overcame so easily. We'll see what this means for being different places in college. I mean, she is a sophomore. He's going to come in as a freshman, I'm assuming, since he skipped last year. But, you know, when we had that Barry swap episode, he outshined as Barry. So maybe he is just becoming a really popular guy in college.
Yeah, maybe that's it. We'll see. I'm excited. I like Barry and Jeff and Erica all in college together. That has made me very happy.
Yes. And we still need to see the JTP.
That's true.
Hopefully they'll come up next episode.
Yeah, hopefully, or at least sometime soon. I mean, we know we've seen them behind the scenes, so right. We have seen. I feel like I've seen.
Yeah, they've been behind the scenes.
Matt Bush and the rest of the crew. So that's good. So yeah, all right. Goldnerds live. It's getting late on the East Coast here. Thank you everybody for being here. Lons, you wanna take us home?
Yeah, of course. I'm Lons. You can find me at PK Prime 12 on Instagram and Twitter. This has been a Gold Nerds live podcast. You can find us at the Gold Nerds on Instagram, at Gold Nerds on Twitter. And there you can see the tag below. Shy, what are your handles? Hit us up.
You can follow me at Pancake4Table, as indicated by my little box here, on Twitter and Instagram, and every week on the Friday Night Movie podcast with my awesome sisters, my biological sisters, because you're my podcast sister.
Oh, thank you, Shy.
And they feel the same way about you. So my sisters love you.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, JTP out, I guess.
Yeah, have a season 8. Bye, everyone.
Have a season 8. Bye, guys.
Playing along. Bye.